In the realm of large luxury SUVs, the LX stands apart as rather unique. Instead of being based on a more traditional truck platform, it shares its underpinnings with the legendary Land Cruiser, and keeps all of its hardcore off-road abilities. It also starts at nearly $90,000, which exceeds even the Land Rover Range Rover. There are no trim levels, but we will look at the optional equipment and highlight the 2018 changes in this review. So let's go ahead and check out the flagship Lexus SUV. We would like to specially thank Lexus of Lexington for inviting us out to film this review. If you would like to check out their stunning dealership and extensive inventory of all the Lexus models, their physical address and website can be found in the video description. The LX pretty much has your typical Lexus key fob. It has real metal trim and it's of a nice size. Before we check out the stunning interior, we'll quickly check out what's under the hood. For the powertrain, the LX continues to keep things simple with only one variation. For the engine, that means you always have this 5.7-liter V8, which produces 383 horsepower and 403 pound-feet of torque. From there, you have an 8-speed automatic transmission and full-time 4-wheel drive. That system is very capable, of course, since it includes a Torsen limited-slip center locking differential. The focus on capability does produce one drawback here, and that's of course fuel economy. For 2018, it will continue to be rated at 13 city, 18 highway, 15 combined. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to the bold exterior. So this is the third year since the LX's redesign, and while there are a couple differences to point out, overall it's pretty much the same. That's in no way a bad thing though, since the LX continues to look very modern, starting with the grille. It wears the largest and boldest spindle grille in the lineup, which covers absolutely all the space between the headlights. And speaking of those headlights, they're also very modern looking triple beam LEDs. You have LED daytime running lights, turn signals, and headlamp washers. And there's also L-shaped LED fog lamps. So I already touched on this briefly, but the LX's Land Cruiser foundation makes it very capable. A key part of that is ground clearance of 8.9 inches, but it also has an approach angle of 25 to 27 degrees, and a departure angle of 20 to 23 degrees. The LX doesn't have a whole lot of options, but these wheels are one of them. They are 21-inch 10-spoke alloy wheels with black contrast accents. The standard wheel is slightly smaller at 20 inches and also has 10 spokes, but the design looks quite a bit different. For the brakes, you have 13.9-inch ventilated disc brakes in the front and 13.6-inch ventilated disc brakes in the rear. The tires are all seasons. Coming up to the mirrors, they are loaded with all the goodies you would expect. They are heated, power folding, and auto-dimming. Plus you have standard blind spot monitoring built in. Now backing up, of course the LX is quite big, but at 199.4 inches long, it's shorter than some rivals like the Cadillac Escalade and Lincoln Navigator. The LX does ride on a standard air suspension, whose height can be controlled manually on the inside, or it automatically lowers when parked. The shock absorber rates are also customizable via the drive modes. Moving on to safety, there are no official ratings for something this big. However, this does come standard with a ton of active safety equipment. You have pre-collision braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert with steering assist, dynamic radar cruise control, and auto high beam headlights. Plus the blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert I just mentioned. Even though the LX's 24.6 gallon fuel tank is fairly big, the fuel economy more than offsets it. Its fuel range comes in at a rather low 369 miles. And of course you do need premium unleaded fuel. In the rear of the LX is where you can kind of see some family resemblance to the Toyota. The one change to point out is the new LED reverse lights, which now match with these LED tail lights. They have the typical L shape to them, and a little chrome accent. There is a full-size spare tire, and a hidden exhaust. For towing, the LX has a maximum rating of 7,000 pounds, with the standard Class 4 tow hitch. This is a little behind competitors, which can tow as much as 8,300 pounds in the case of the Escalade. There is a big spoiler, and of course matte silver roof rails. Well, I think that pretty much sums up the outside, so now let's go ahead and check out the beautiful interior. The cabin of the LX looks very opulent, as expected from a flagship. You get a wide variety of color and material combinations, starting with black or parchment leather with linear wood trim. From there you can add the luxury package, which gives you semi-aniline leather and 3 more combinations: parchment with open pore walnut, black with dark brown walnut, and my personal favorite, this Cabernet leather with linear espresso wood. The door trim is made of the same high-end materials, with leather on almost everything you touch. On the other parts you have real wood and aluminum trim. Of course all 4 of your windows are fully automatic. You also do have 3-person memory seats standard. The seats on the LX are very adjustable, 14 ways to be exact. Part of that adjustability is power thigh extension. The leather itself is probably the nicest I've ever felt, and it's just exceptionally supple. There are integrated running boards, so getting in is easy. Even though I've been in this car several other times, I'm always struck by just how rich this cabin looks. And everything feels just as good as it looks. All of the upper dash is composed of soft-touch plastic with stitching. But going down lower brings you to leather all through here, and authentic wood and aluminum. Everything just feels really great and solid. Just press the button to start. When you do, the giant 12.3-inch display will fire up, which is standard. The gauges have an elegantly simple analog design. You do also get this 4.2-inch multifunction display, but a lot of rivals at this price point have fully digital setups. To go along with that, we have the optional heads-up display. I'm not sure why it's so dim, but there's undoubtedly a place to change that. I just haven't found it. The LX actually has traditional hydraulic power steering, fed through this beautiful leather and optional wood steering wheel. The left side is for volume, phone, and voice, while the other side is for the display and safety systems. And this stalk is for the standard adaptive cruise control. We do have rain sensing wipers up here, and paddle shifters. Lastly, the wheel itself is power. Moving on to the storage, the LX has about as much as you would expect from a large SUV. In the center console, you start off with a shallow tray, but this does remove. Underneath, you have a much deeper area. That is, unless you get the optional cool box, which limits things quite a bit. There are two more things up here. The first is the cup holders, and the second is the small area for the Qi wireless charging. This doesn't work with all phones, by the way. Coming back, you have a very nice leather and aluminum shifter. Pressing to the left does activate manual mode to shift here or on the paddles. When you shift into reverse, a standard panoramic view monitor pulls up. It of course has guidance lines, trajectory, and parking sensors, though I'm not sure how to change the view. Now here comes the overwhelming panel of buttons that reminds you just how serious of an off-roader this LX is. I'll try my best to quickly summarize. The two knobs are for either drive modes or off-road modes, and the buttons at the top are related to rock crawling and getting yourself out of tight spots. To the right of that, you have the four-wheel drive toggle, and one for the air suspension height control. Closest to the driver, you have buttons for the 3-stage heated and ventilated seats. They also have an automatic function that syncs in with Climate Concierge, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we also have a heated steering wheel. Now moving on to the climate control itself, it is 4-zone automatic on all LXs. Even though the buttons look touch sensitive, they are actually real. The Climate Concierge feature works by automatically adjusting the temperature, band speeds, zones, heated or vented seats, and the steering wheel to maintain the optimum overall temperature at any time. Now let's sample the optional 450-watt, 19-speaker Mark Levinson sound system. The sound quality is superb. Now let's take a look at Lexus Inform and this 12.3-inch display. The software powering this large screen is one of the latest versions of Inform, though not as recent as the LCs. Of course, navigation is standard, and it takes up the entire screen, which is nice. The map is not bad, but it's not quite as detailed as some rivals. Going into media, you can control the audio and standard Bluetooth. Clicking sources also shows off some of the other ones that you can pick between. connectivity is also standard, and you can scroll through a list of your contacts automatically synced over from your smartphone. You also have text message support. Next is Inform apps. These won't show up unless you have the Inform app installed and running on your smartphone. You get apps like iHeartRadio, Pandora, Bing Search, Fuel Guide, and MovieTickets.com to name a few. You cannot get Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. If you'd like to see a deeper dive into the Lexus Inform system and a thorough explanation of all its unique features, we have a dedicated Tech Haul video. A link to that is provided in the description. Up here you have a frameless glass auto-dimming rearview mirror with standard HomeLink universal remotes. I like the little touch-sensitive lights. New this year, Lexus Safety Connect is included free for 10 years. It includes automatic collision notification, stolen vehicle locator, and emergency roadside assistance. We also have a moonroof. It's just a regular sized one, but it would be nice to have a panoramic one instead. So overall, the LX's interior is really quite stunning. The design and materials are both modern and extremely opulent, so I would say this is at or near the top of the class. The price of entry may be high, but this interior feels well worth it. Now Mason will take over and show off the rest of the cabin. Of course, the materials on the rear door trim are top-notch. There's plenty of stitched Cabernet leather to go around. And above it are your standard window sunshades. Both windows are fully automatic. Regarding legroom in the LX, you have 36 inches of it and 38.9 inches of headroom. That does put it right in line with the competition, but during my day with the car, I found it to be a little cramped. The supple semi-aniline leather is back here too, and the LX does have a power adjusting rear seat. It slides front and back, and I honestly haven't seen this on any other car. Down here in the center, Lexus does give you two large vents, and below it there's a 12-volt power outlet. Folding down an armrest is where you'll find all the controls for the rear. Every passenger back here has their own temperature and zone adjustments. And to the left of that are your 3-stage heated and ventilated seat buttons. Behind that there's a little storage area, and way up here are your cup holders. The ceiling has some LED lights, a premium headliner, and an assist guard, plus some more vents. Now, like I said, I find the LX's rear seat to be a little cramped, mainly because my feet can't slide up under the seat. Other than that, though, it's pretty spacious and comfortable. Overall, the LX is the gold standard of what an opulent second row is supposed to be. The features surprise me still, and we've reviewed this generation 3 times already. The tailgate is power, so just push the button to open. Oddly, you'll notice that it's divided into 2 parts. The lower part is released with this handle. And once that's open, you'll find 16.1 cubic feet with the third row in place, 43.1 cubic feet behind the second row, and 81.7 cubic feet as a maximum. Compared to rivals, that's on the lower end, but not by much. Off to the left, you have a power outlet. On the right, you have controls for your standard power folding third row. As you can see, they fold in a variety of ways. If you fail to close the tailgate fully, it will finish it up for you. To fold the seat out of the way, just grab this handle. In the third row of the LX, you'll find 28.3 inches of legroom and 35.8 inches of headroom. It's obviously not very comfortable back here for me, but for small kids it's definitely fine. Lexus does provide a couple cup holders and vents on the roof. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. The passenger seat can be adjusted 12 different ways, and that's standard on all models. Leather is abundant everywhere, even on the door grabber. The glove box is dampened and illuminated, but strangely it's not felt lined. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching the first in-depth look at the 2018 Lexus LX 570.